Hello everybody, welcome back to Road to Master. I hope you all have an amazing day. We're starting off, we have the black pieces here against an 1857 from the Philippines. Tough game, tough opponent. We'll try our best, whatever we do. Let's go ahead with e5. I don't think the Sicilian's particularly working for us just yet. We're going to try and get it up and running though. But for now, we'll play best by test, e5, you know. With the Scotch game, we love the Scotch game. What should we go for? Let's take it. Let's take the pawn. I was thinking about playing d6, going into like a Philidor, but who can be bothered with that? Who can be bothered with that? And we'll go for a classical Scotch. This is the main line of the Scotch. And it goes as this is happening. Exactly right. C3. I expect that from an 1857. And here we will play knight to e7. We'll play knight to e7, or knight g e7, I should say. The bishop comes back, and then we'll play knight to e5. And this is the way. This is the way we do things here. The bishop should go back to e2 here. That's the idea. That's the big idea. And we leave this knight here, I believe. I believe we leave this knight here and just castle. Play d6 at some point is always a move. And they don't go for that. Wow. Wow. I don't see anything wrong with just trading off, to be honest. I don't see anything wrong with taking off the light squared bishop. They've got their pawns on dark squares. Yes, this one's on a light squared. But that's not locked down. So, yeah, I don't see anything wrong with just trading off here. We could go knight c6, but that's not very appetizing. So we'll just take the light squared bishop. And we'll be happy, really. We'll play d6 here, I believe. Just looking after our dark squared bishop. Ideally keep the bishop pair, but that's not a necessity, really. They're going to castle. We could play like a bishop e6 here. We could maybe trade off first to stop that, but then we're not keeping the bishop pair, are we? So let's just castle. Let's just castle. Seems safe enough. They could potentially move the knight here, which could get a bit tricky because after bishop takes pawn move, the rook's hitting our queen. So here we'll just drop the bishop back to b6. And you do this in Scotch lines a lot anyway. The bishop comes back to b6 with like a knight coming to f5. I think I said that in our video. But we're not particularly worried about a4, I don't think. I think something like a5 just stops that dead in the water. They have knight coming in, which could get a bit tricky. But knight comes in, we potentially even have bishop to e6 at that point. Which would get very interesting, actually. We need to play something about this bishop anyway. We could do a c5. That's a possibility. However, they potentially could play a5. And after takes... it gets interesting. A5 takes. They would take with the bishop first, and then bishop takes, queen takes, queen takes. No, that would be bad. A5. No, C5, A5. Pawn takes, bishop takes, bishop takes. Queen takes, pawn takes. And then I'm not particularly enjoying this position. I'm not enjoying that. We've got an isolated pawn that's also sort of backwards as well. And it's not very nice. It's not very nice. So we'll go ahead and avoid that, and we'll just play a5, I believe. We've got to watch the knight coming in. But bishop e6 sorts that out quite comfortably as well. And we can go knight, rook f, c8. Yeah, rook f, c8 would be the way to go, I think. Just thinking if there's anything else. We don't want to leave this pawn backwards because this is their open file, so we don't really want to be moving this c pawn. We could still play e6. In fact, no, we can't still play bishop to e6 because the knight's actually hitting the rook, so we won't be able to trade, and they could do some nasty stuff. Nasty stuff. So let's go ahead and play a5. I think a5's our best shot. I think it's our best shot. The knight coming in is the threat, but we've already discussed that. We're pretty comfortable with the knight coming in. We would probably trade first. Would we even trade? In fact, I don't think we would even trade, to be honest. We would let them take and just play bishop to e6. Actually, do we want c takes? Because then this is an awkward pawn, but then their c pawn's an awkward pawn. So they don't go for any of that, though, which is fine by us. Yeah. So what's this knight doing? What's that knight doing? He's probably coming to f3. Although they could play f4 first. I don't think it's coming to b3. Though it could potentially. Now is c5 an option? Is c5 an option? If the knight moves, we've got bishop to e6, which looks quite nice. If the knight moves somewhere, where's it going? Knight up. Yeah, we have. Yeah. And then we're hitting lots of things. c5 is very interesting. We will have to live with the d6 pawn being backwards. And we learned that from our episode yesterday. That backwards pawns aren't really ideal at all. Aren't really ideal. But we could also take. So the problem is once we take, if the knight moves, the bishop is now unguarded with this c pawn. So that's not ideal either. We could potentially play an f takes after bishop e6. Knight takes. E6, but then bishop takes, pawn takes isn't ideal either. Okay. Do we ignore that and start an attack with like a g5, queen g5? It can be easily countered though. Surely it can be easily countered. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. What about just like a bishop d7? Stops the knight coming in on b5. And then we can activate our rooks. And it's just a bit of a waiting move. I don't mind it. Is their knight coming in that dangerous? I don't think so. Our knight's covering a lot of things. I don't think the knight on g5 is particularly threatening. It can be kicked quite quickly. f4, is that much of a threat? This guy says, I love Scotch Gambit. This isn't the Scotch Gambit though. This is just the Scotch. So, okay. Okay, fair enough. But the problem I've always had with playing f4 as white is that the bishop is open to attack the king, basically. The dark squared bishop. You've made holes, and the dark squared bishop is on that diagonal, so, you know, stuff can happen. Stuff can happen. However, after f4, c5 is off the table because they can lock it up with b5, and suddenly our dark squared bishop and all of the pawns are completely terrible. Actually terrible. So maybe we go knight c6. Maybe we go knight c6 with ideas of getting the knight to e5. While we still can before they play b5. Because realistically, the knight's not going anywhere else unless it gets to g6, which is a possibility. And g6 f4. Oh. We just need to think of our plan. Once we've thought of our plan, we're good. Yeah, but then knight on c6, f4, and then it's got no squares at all. That's the problem. Let's play bishop d7. Try get some control. And we spent 5 minutes on that move, which is not good at all. Oh, I need to get this time management sorted. It's my downfall, really. It's fine in classical games. My time management's really quite good in like classical games. It's just this rapid. I can't do it. I can't do the rapid. But that's why we're doing it, because it's a weak point. And I do play a surprising amount of rapid games as well, you know, rapid tournaments and such. So it's a good thing to learn. Is time management. I think it's part of the game. It shouldn't be a big part of the game. The whole idea is that you have adequate time to play the game, unless you're playing bullet or something. The whole idea is that you have enough time to actually play the game. But it stops people taking too long. And what we do here, I have no clue. The knight's come to b4. It's not really hitting. Rook c8, probably. Or we could actually just win the pawn. That does actually just win a pawn. Although queen takes is an interesting variation. I think we take this. I think we take the b pawn. I think we're just up a pawn. And then this knight's super weak as well. If this knight ever moves and the queen moves. And potentially c5's a bit nicer. Ooh. That's cheeky. So they've played a5. And I don't know if I actually like that. So you're kicking my bishop and trying to win this c-pawn. That's the idea. I feel like I should be able to counterattack here. Feel like I should be able to counterattack. Not quite. I might have to just sit tight and try and maybe trap this queen. And just play for activity, really. That's actually quite interesting if they take... the bishop's under attack, though. We could take the knight. I mean, that's been a thing for a while. We could take the knight. Actually, that is quite interesting because bishop takes queen e6. The queen's pinned to this knight, which is interesting. And it leads to a whole load of trades. A whole load of trades. Alternatively, we take the knight and we could go queen g5 or g6. g6 hits his pawn as well, with the idea of the attack. So let's take the knight. Let's take the knight. And then... like a knight c6 wouldn't go amiss, I don't think. Yeah, so they take with the bishop. And we go queen g6. We're sacking the pawn, yes, but the counter-attack, they can't ignore it. And we keep playing, we keep developing, basically. We could do a temporary move and hit this knight or something. I don't think it's quite worth it. I think bishop h3 is more than enough to make them scared. They would have to potentially sacrifice the exchange, which is interesting because they would get the knight So very interesting stuff actually. Oh, but then queen takes e4 is just super good. Queen takes e4, yeah. I mean, we've got it, right? Yeah. And then we're going queen e2. And, yeah, a bishop coming in. Oh, we could even go there and just win the knight. Would be good. In fact, yeah. Yeah, that wins the knight at least. The rook comes in, we take, they take, we take. Pooh, it gets crazy. It gets crazy. Our bishop is at risk of getting trapped. Is a thing. But we could just move it straight away. We could just move it straight away. Or we could keep like attacking the queen, prodding there. This pawn is a massive hazard for them. Massive hazard. Which is interesting. We've got ideas of rook e8. We do need to actually support our own king at some point because this is a bit scary. We potentially have some mating threats, actually. Some real threatening ones. I think rook e8 might be the way to go. Queen g5 is scary. Oh, wow. This is fireworks. I love it. Alternatively, we could trade queens. We could trade queens and play the opposite colour endgame. That is an option. We would be equal on pawns. This is a bit of a weakness. So it's not ideal. It's not ideal. We could play all out for the win. So takes queen g5. Pawn push is super scary. Takes queen g5. f6 is the way to go. And then maybe like a queen e3 or something to avoid the pawn push because of the pin. At which point maybe like we need to secure the bishop. Yeah, fair enough. How can we get the queens and rooks on the same file? That's the question. Oh, rook takes pawn. Rook takes pawn. Ooh. That's got to be done, right? And that stops queen g5. So rook takes, queen mate. I mean, it's a free pawn. And you're actually threatening rook takes mate as well. Ooh. And it's stopping queen g5. That's the killer. That's the killer. Wow. We have no rook e8 though. That's the problem. But we were planning on playing f6 anyway, potentially, just to stop this bishop being annoying. Good move from them. Good move. Okay. Now do we play the pawn? Now do we play the pawn? Ooh, do they have any real threats here? I say no. I say we can push that. Yeah, I say we take the pawn. Yeah, so they've tripled up, which is wild, and now they actually do have some scary threats. So I think we go bishop to e6. Just to stop those. Bishop to e6, rook takes, pawn takes, queen takes there. No, we could do... Yeah, we're stopping queen takes because we're on the same diagonal. Very nice. So let's drop the bishop back. I don't know. I don't know who's winning. To be honest, this is a crazy game. This is bonkers. They've got 15 minutes left still. So good for them. Good for them. They can play fast. Yeah, I think we're good. I think if we can survive... if we can survive this attack, we're definitely winning. That's the thing. We're just winning if we can survive this. We have rook d5 if queen takes pawn, which is brutal. We just win the bishop. No, queen f4. Yeah, but then we're just nice, aren't we? Like, we're just nice. We could even potentially sack the bishop. Yeah, we've got a right. Queen f5. Like a queen c4. Nah. Not as good as it looks. Not as good as it looks. We just push the pawn at that point, surely. We still have to watch out for the mating threats, actually. No, we don't, because the rooks and the bishops covering those. Gosh. I think maybe even we sack the exchange. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it. I think we're still chilling here. I think we are. They can be a bit tricky though, because our king's weaker than theirs, basically, because of their connected rooks. That's the whole idea. Their connected rooks are a huge pain. Actually, is rook takes bishop now a problem? No, rook takes bishop, we take queen, and we just play that. Ooh. I think we're fine. I think we are fine, yeah. If I was to evaluate this, it could go either way. It could go either way. It's either, like, we're either queening or we're getting mated. That's the thing. It's one of the two extremes. Which makes things awkward to sort of evaluate. But we'll give it a go, and we'll say 2.7 for black. 2.7 for black. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. We're the ones making the threats. Ooh. They trade off queens. Now that's interesting. Ooh, do we go for it? I think we have to, right? Bishop takes, rook there. Rook d6. No, that loses to bishop c5. Gosh. Oh, we can just take the... Oh, we can't. The queen's still guarding that. Oh, queen takes, bishop takes. Probably just a rook c7, right? And push the pawn. Probably just a rook c7. Yeah, we gotta. I think simplifying things probably is better for us. And we just focus all our efforts on this pawn. The bishop can stop anything controlling it. Although then we do get back ranked if they stay double, but we're not moving this bishop just yet. We need to make some luft potentially if we have time, which I think we do. I think we do have time. Whoa, that's a weird one. What's stopping me just pushing this pawn? I don't think anything is, really. Yeah, rook there, and then check, moves, takes rook, rook takes, push, promote. I think that just wins. I think that just wins. Yeah, this is just winning. Oh, that's a nice little sequence of promotion there. They seriously miscalculated that. And this should be resignable. Fair enough. Fair enough. If you want to play on, we'll play on. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I always try play on. If there's any remote chance of a stalemate, I'll play on. Well, most of the time. It depends how bad it is. You know, if there's genuine chances of a stalemate, then yes. We can just trade off the bishop here. If we wanted to, takes, push, king up, push, king there, or not, or not. Let's keep the bishops on. Keep the bishop on. You can try kick us out. It doesn't matter now. There's no rooks on the board. There's no mating threats. So I'm chilling. I am chilling. And this is just a nice endgame. It's not as easy as it potentially looks to win. It's definitely winning, and it shouldn't be too hard. But there are some challenges. I think they've missed their opportunity. They really need to blockade this pawn as best they can. Bit late now. It's a bit late now. It's promoting. It's going to queen, and then it'll be mate in a few moves. And we'll try to be efficient with it. We'll try to be efficient with it. All those are controlled. They resign. Fair enough. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the game. I think that was a good one. I think that was a decent game. We definitely made some mistakes there, but that's to be expected. We were out of prep. 91.2%, very nice. We made a fatal error, apparently, somewhere. A fatal error, but everything was very clinical. Apart from that one mistake. Yeah, so this is all theory, and I've covered this in my Scotch video. The bishop comes back to e2, d6, castles. Queen could potentially come to g6, hitting this. And there's stuff for both sides. We take the bishop, which is just principled. You know, it's a knight. It's an okay knight. It can get kicked. It's not in any particularly good square, and this knight can just fill its spot as well. Versus a pretty strong bishop. So we just principle, take that off. Castles. Move the bishop back. Apparently, queen g6 is the right thing to do with the mating threats. You're also hitting this pawn, so you let them trap your bishop, which is super interesting, actually. We'll have a look. Knight e2, and I'm guessing that's to go knight g3, and then you can play something along those lines. Bishop takes e3. Double up the pawns, and just take the attacking chances from black and absorb it the best you can. I'm not sure what you do about these pawns. That's pretty cheeky. Hit the pawn with check, and then you move the knight to c6. I wonder if there's any b3. And then you hit the queen, and then the c pawn's no longer attacked, which is quite tidy, really, quite tidy. I think that's a good way to describe it. Bishop moves to e2. We weren't so sure on that. Apparently rook d8 is better. But it's not particularly a huge mistake. It's 0.3 to 0, so you know it's not exactly anything much. I thought b5 at some point was a good idea. I also thought knight b5. I'm not quite sure what my exact, maybe even an f4 here potentially. I didn't think that was quite good. I mean, the computer's saying it's practically the same. It doesn't matter. But I thought, you know, you wanted more play over this side because my mating threats were quite scary. We take, and they push. I really like push for them, actually. Really interesting move. Bishop takes, and then apparently we threaten to trade off queens here, which is the way to go. Which seems obvious now, really. I think we mentioned that. But we went with the mating threats instead. And then this is scary. Apparently we just cash in on the material. Let them take the knight. So we just upped the exchange then, which is fair enough. We wanted to play on though. We took the knight. And then rook takes pawn. The brilliancy. We finally got it. There we go. And then this is the fatal error. It wanted f6 apparently. Bishop to e6 is losing. I'm guessing it's a rook takes move. Rook takes, yeah. And then I wonder why that's losing. Queen g7. Oh, yeah, duh. Queen g7, obviously. Gosh, that was silly. I thought there was some tactics there, but I didn't see that at all. Yeah, that's quite an obvious one to spot as well. Anyway, they didn't go for it. Luckily, they didn't go for it. The best move was f6. I kind of want to see that because it looks sketchy. Obviously weakening your king, but I guess with your queen being on the light squares, it's not too much of a threat. Best move, please. Follow up. Queen c7. And you just keep your queen on this light diagonal. And you just sort of win with these pawns, basically. I guess that's the idea. Queen takes d6 is the miss, obviously. We move the rook in, and then the trade-off queens is pretty self-explanatory. They needed to take care of this pawn because, as we saw, it absolutely rolled them. And it wasn't a nice sight, to be honest. Wasn't a nice sight to be on. We kicked this bishop out, pushed this pawn, and then the double pass pawns, you know, they're just brutal. Absolutely brutal. All this good stuff. Nice little sequence there. And we just win. We just win nice and easy. And yeah, pretty good game. We've not been playing particularly well recently, but I was a big fan of this game. Quite fun as well. Deviation from my theory, usually bishop e2 is the way to go. So yeah, this queen move's a bit weird. It's still fine, apparently, still fine. Minus 0.34, so it's still even. But yeah, quite cool to see. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like if you liked. Please subscribe if you really liked. And I'll catch you guys all tomorrow. Bye-bye.